So welcome to a video. This is going to be a little bit different than what I would normally talk about on this YouTube channel, but I thought it might be a little bit interesting to kind of get some insight on how I think about some business things. I'm going to talk about why investing your paycheck is not going to be the way for you to get rich quick. I mean, get rich quicker than the traditional method. And I'm also going to tell you why you need to learn to sell no matter what business you're doing and why it's an extremely important skill to build just for your life in general. That is just a few of the topics that I'm going to cover in this video, so hopefully you enjoy it. And without further ado, here's the video. Hey everyone, it's Oliver. I'm back, and today I'm going to be talking about a very interesting little post that I wrote titled "Don't Invest in Stocks or Real Estate." Now, this is naturally a probably pretty controversial thing to say. Why would I tell you to avoid investing in stocks and real estate when all you hear, if you're in the business world online, is that you should invest in stocks and real estate? Well, allow me to explain. I recently read a business book that really brought home an idea that I had been thinking about for a while. That is, that investing in stocks and real estate, but less so real estate, when you're young is not going to be the thing that makes you wealthy if that's your goal. Now, allow me to substantiate this claim. Surely, investing in stocks and real estate is a good idea. Surely, I should probably be saving money for my job and I should probably be investing that money. People get rich all the time just investing in stocks and real estate, right? Well, yes, but also it depends. If I spend 40 years saving a bit of money from my job every week and retire with $1 million or two, sure, maybe I've done well. But the elephant in the room is always inflation, which will eat away at my buying power, and the $1 million 40 years from now won't be worth $1 million in today's money. It'll be worth much less. Real estate, however, is a little bit different because generally speaking, the power of inflation is working in your favor, not against you. And it tends to be a bit of an inflation hedge. So if you increase your power to pay down a loan over the years by earning more and by getting wage increases, meanwhile, the value of the loan stays around the same on the day that you purchase that house, 20 years from now, that loan or whatever's left of it won't be worth as much as it was 20 years ago. So you're not only paying it down every year, but you'll also have a much easier time paying it down 20 years from now. For example, if you can borrow money at 0% forever, but inflation is 2%, the value of that loan drops by 2% every single year. This is why lenders tend to lose money in a hyperinflationary economy and why borrowers tend to benefit. A very important concept that's overlooked when giving retirement and investment advice is the time value of money. This is a super important concept in finance, and it basically just means inflation. So whenever there's a story of some 25-year-old who made it big, did they work a regular job for 40 hours a week, then diligently save 15% of their paycheck, which is a lot more than most people, invested in stocks, and then boom, 5 years later, they're a millionaire? Unlikely, if not impossible. There are sound statistics and facts showing that people who are young, and also many older people who made their money, did so through building a business. The capitalist system is built around rewarding those who create something the marketplace wants. There is only one Apple Incorporated, but millions of us buy their products. Simple math says if you sell 1 million of something, you'll be a millionaire. Or if you sell 100,000 of something at $10 each, you'll also be a millionaire. Or if you sell 10,000 of something at $100 each, you'll be a millionaire. So you can keep doing this math, right? So how low do you have to go? 1,000 of something at $1,000 is $1 million. Can you get paid $1,000 an hour? Crazy to think about, but there are situations where that might be possible. Or can you sell 1,000 products at $1,000, products that have a profit margin of $1,000 1,000 times? That's $1 million. Once you start getting into bigger numbers or larger quantity is when you start getting into the millions. Generally speaking, in the society that we live in, you have to be a producer in order to make it big. Sure, maybe once in a blue moon, someone hits it big on crypto This is pretty relevant right now, assuming they don't lose it all in the next crash, or they manage to time an investment that goes up 10 times in value, like Nvidia recently. But the large majority of people that speculate in stocks hoping to get rich inevitably get burned. Just ask me and my friends. We know. We know what speculation does. And a lot of people still do it even after they have learned their lesson. Not a great way to do it. There is definitely something to be said for the try and like get rich slow situation. But I'm telling you that if you are looking to get rich a little bit quicker, within a decade, it's possible, but it's not going to be stocks that do it for you. For some people, they may not have any ambition to be wealthy, and they may just want to have a decent job, enough money for a decent life. But for people who do want to be wealthy, you have to realize a few things. One, literally no one cares that you want to be wealthy. What can you do for me? That is the question that everybody is out there asking. What can that person do for me? Let me go get that coffee. I want that person to make me a coffee. Everyone is living in their own world. How can I talk to this person to help advance my career? If you're not asking for help, nobody will help you. That is something that I am now learning sort of the hard way, but it's an important thing to learn. Is that if you want help, you have to be willing to be helped and you have to be willing to ask for it. Nobody is thinking about you on their day off and like, oh man, like, how can I help this guy who's just like chilling in his room making videos? Like, nobody is wondering how they can help you. At the very least, you got to make it known that there is some help that you need. And once you do, you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help you. Obviously, don't take advantage of it, but it's out there and you have to take the initiative. That's the moral of the story, is taking initiative is extremely important. No matter what business you're in, you have to sell. Whether selling means getting to the top of search rankings or creating an amazing marketing campaign or making the best YouTube videos, which I'm definitely doing right now in my amazing Chrismica sweater. You can do a lot to promote your stuff, but promotion is extremely important. And no matter what it is you're doing, you could be giving psychological counseling services to people. If nobody knows that you have a business, nobody will show up. Same idea. One, ask for help because nobody cares. Two, ask for customers because, again, nobody cares until they know. So if nobody knows, they will not pay attention to you, and attention is the currency that leads to financial success. Luckily, nowadays, social media is a pretty strong method of selling and brand awareness, and it's largely free. You just have to pay with your privacy, becoming a public figure, or whatever it is. There is value to not posting everything about yourself online. Things like Google My Business can be helpful. Word of mouth is also very much alive, and it's important to be careful what you put on the internet too. It's one of the greatest vehicles of success in recent history. There is a lot of opportunity out there on the internet. There are more intricate rules and considerations to think about if you are building a business. Do you want to build a business that can eventually work without your inputs? Would be nice, huh? But you have to remember that at the beginning, the business needs you to be the one forcing it forward, building it up, and doing the stuff that nobody else wants to do. A thriving business isn't magically going to appear at your doorstep because you visualized it. You have to do stuff. That's another thing that I'm learning, kind of, maybe not the hard way, but that I've been learning recently, which is that if you're just like sitting around and you're trying to figure out what to do with your life, it literally doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to do something. So if you're like stuck at home, you're being a couch potato, just do something. Do anything that may help you put one foot in front of the other. That's the name of the game, is if you can keep on keeping on when it gets difficult, you will get ahead. So you have to actively be out in the world providing inputs to this machine so it can start cranking its gears. You want to spend less time thinking and more time doing. Speaking of stuff no one wants to do, that is a great way to choose an avenue that's ripe for disruption or innovation. There are a million different businesses you could start, but it's important to consider if there is a need in the marketplace. Example, the world probably doesn't need another personal trainer, or blog for that matter, or podcast for that matter. Ouch. There is a strategy to this whole blogging and posting online thing, and that is consistency. So as long as I'm putting one foot in front of the other, I'm doing this again, again, and again, over and over and over, I'm getting my reps in, these will get better and people may notice, right? Same idea goes for a business. You keep putting the reps in, you keep getting better, you keep revising, improving, innovating, and eventually you might have something good. Finding a market niche is also extremely valuable. It can speed up this whole process of doing something over and over again, because if you have something niche that nobody else is talking about, or you have a weird combo of skills that nobody else really has and you're able to market that well, then you have demand. You can create demand by being the person to provide a certain skill set. Nowadays, something that's really high in demand is like therapy. I'm using this example, but a psychologist, again, would be something that's very high in demand. It does take a lot of education to become a psychologist, but you get paid a lot of money and it's in very high demand. Lots of things in healthcare, extremely high demand, and they're paying decently, at least in Canada where I live. There are tons of things like this that pay really well, and the demand is there. Now, there are obviously steps and hurdles in the way. The more hurdles, honestly, the better, because those are the things that fewer people are willing to basically put up with and suffer through in order to get this financial reward at the end. Same goes for building an interesting business. If you're willing to put up the time and the effort that it takes, the like 6 to 12 months it takes to build an absolutely killer iPhone app, you have basically defeated a whole bunch of other people that don't have the patience, that aren't willing to do that. So it is a long game, and don't let people think that it can happen overnight, because it does take time, consistency, effort, and just putting in the reps. It's a much better idea to begin a business in a market that doesn't have a ton of competition. That being said, you will almost always find somebody who's already doing it. And if that business is smart, they'll do their best to prevent competition from entering their market. But if the barrier to entry is relatively high and building that business would be hard, and you think you can do it better, then you have an opportunity to innovate. The higher the barrier to entry, the better the potential idea. You want a space that is hard to work in, or where all of the current options suck, because that will act as the moat to the thing that you have built. You also have to consider the scale of the business. Would it be feasible for this to be a national or even international business? Or am I just going to open one restaurant on a street corner? I'm not saying you can't have a thriving single restaurant, but notice that the chains who are global and have found ways to replicate their formulas using the franchising model have done extremely well, and now are these massive corporations, again, if that's your goal. Do you want to think global, or do you want to think local? Both are okay. Both have different outcomes. Sort of think about this in advance. You may make your life a little bit easier if you want to go down a franchising route later on, for example. As a bit of personal experience, allow me to divulge a bit of an internal battle I've had between two businesses. When I was originally thinking about real estate sales as a business, I was noticing a lot of the warning signs that this book that I was reading had pointed out, that I've mentioned above. Does the world need another realtor? And the answer is no, they don't. Unless you have a super innovative or weird business model, it is an oversaturated market, and the people who do really well are the ones who are willing to spend the money to market themselves more than the next guy, right? Real estate is, there have been studies done that it's like 90% visibility. If you are top of mind for somebody, if you're like one of two agents that someone will constantly think of, like you think of your neighborhood and you think of like all these signs and billboards and everything, who comes to the top of your mind when you're thinking of a certain realtor or a company of real estate agents even? It's all like top of mind, and those people will usually be the ones who get that phone call first for somebody who wants to sell their house. And let's look at some of the other things I mentioned. Can the real estate business be global? Sales specifically, that is. The answer is not really. Unless I was to start my own brokerage like a Remax or a Sotheby's, and even then, I would personally, this is kind of where my limits are, I would not be willing to handle that kind of operational overhead. You know, this is the follow-up question is, can I detach from the business in the future? So this is for the sales side as being an agent. And again, the answer is not really, unless I build a team of agents who handle all of my clients for me. But even then, many clients would probably just prefer to work with me, especially if I'm the brand and I'm the one who had built up the relationship. It would become more challenging for me to give that out to other people. Do I have control over my own brand? Again, the answer is somewhat, but also not really. I work under this brokerage and I have to use their brand in all of my marketing. They're probably the one making the big bucks. 1,400 agents in this one franchise is a nice business. I will say the owners and the operators of this business are very involved in day-to-day operations, and the business needs their constant inputs to continue growing and to build up those relationships and maintain them. Otherwise, it would likely fall apart and agents would start to leave to other brokerages. So they do have to work very hard to retain the people that they have already brought in and to recruit people from outside to bring into their organization. At some point, eventually down the line, they can train and hire people to handle all of their roles and detach from the business. But again, it's one of those things where they probably will never be able to fully detach from the business because a lot of what makes it run so well is the personal touch that they are providing. So then I kind of started to muse about my YouTube channel where I posted engineering content for a period of time. It's now around 25,000 subscribers. And I kind of decided against posting real estate content on that channel in the worry that I would upset the current audience, 99% of whom subscribed to the engineering videos. So I started to post real estate content on a second channel, and I had this realization of how brutally limited my market for real estate content is. If I'm just talking about some local neighborhood or even a city and, real estate, maybe at most there's 1 million people that are interested. But considering the demographics of the place that you're living in, so for example, I was living in Mississauga, which is right next to Toronto, it's a suburb. Most of those people living there, I know from my parents, do not use YouTube daily. It's probably closer to maybe 100,000 people who are relatively active on YouTube. And of those people, very few of them will be buying real estate because the average price of a home in that city is over $1 million. And most young Mississaugites are probably not thinking about buying or selling anytime soon. That leaves the intersection of my online social media market in Mississauga real estate to at most like 1,000, 10,000 people. The market is just not there for that kind of thing. And if I sold houses to every single one of those people, I'd be laughing. But social media and real life are very different. And yet, I've been told by so many marketing, training, seminar things that I've gone to about how you should be posting to social media daily to get your business going, to build your brand. It's not really the best way to market a local business like real estate. The market is inherently limited unless you're kind of building a separate online media brand adjacent to the real estate thing, the personal person-to-person thing, which is real estate that you're doing. So one way to overcome this limitation would be to kind of focus on a larger market. For example, I could do all of Canada, but then your strategy wouldn't be as relevant to the hyper-localness of the real estate markets that real life actually resides in. So the upside is that even if you get one sale from social media marketing, you will probably see a return on your investment since the commissions in real estate are quite high. Real estate is fundamentally relationship building and an in-person and a local business. So if you can simultaneously build a unique online media brand while also working the local side of your real estate business, you can do that and you can go crazy. But I don't think for most people that it's actually a good use of time. From a strategic perspective, social media marketing for the average realtor living in like a small city, if you're not in like a major downtown core where there's a lot of young people who are on YouTube, you're probably wasting your time. You're better off just picking up the phone and calling people. You have to kind of figure out the business that you're in and then analyze the market so that you kind of can understand who your target audience is. Once you understand that target audience, you can then do a better job of marketing to them. Recently, I actually found this report of the neighborhood in Toronto that I just moved into, and a lot of people still read newspapers in this neighborhood. And I found that there was like a demographics analytics report found through my real estate work. Nobody in the neighborhood buys things if you go direct. So in real estate, they always say, hey, go door to door, like knock on people's doors, see if you can like build a relationship this way. But based on these demographics, that would be a huge waste of my time because they have these analytics showing that this is how most people, if they buy anything through marketing, they're going to do it through newspaper or magazine, which is hilarious to me, being someone who's grown up on the internet. But that's just the neighborhood I'm in. That's how most people here think, and that's still how they do things. So I need to adapt to the market that I'm in. Arguably, one of my best ideas would be to market in a newspaper right now. A bit of a tangent, but I thought it was quite interesting. So it's important to analyze your demographics, your target market, your target audience, and figure out the best ways to reach them. So let me analyze the engineering channel now for YouTube. Arguably, it's a great concept. My target market is high schoolers and university students who just so happen to be chronically online. Advertisers love selling to the young crowd. University and colleges have never been a more desirable commodity. Tons of people want educations. They're degree printing machines these days. So channels that have studies as their focus will at some point, I don't even know the numbers, but I'm sure at some point like 60 to 80% of the general population will do at least like a year of post-secondary education. So that's a huge market. I can narrow it down to a niche, and I found that niche in mechatronics engineering since there wasn't really anybody making videos about the topic, yet the Google search queries for it were reasonably high. Again, this is a perfect unmet market need and opportunity. I had hardly realized this at the time, and it took me about 4 years to really put all of this together as a business with growth potential and something that actually meets the needs of the target market demographic that I'm in. An engineering YouTube channel is not really a terrible business plan, especially when you're focused on students or people who are recently graduated or high schoolers. It's a perfect target audience market fit. Now, obviously, one of the challenges of building an influencer business is that you're at the whims of an algorithm and it's challenging to predict what it will work and what won't. Likewise, for real estate, you could say I don't really control how many clients I can get. But in theory, I do have more options to gain control and to influence my real estate business more so than when I throw something up online. You can make the argument that if I only throw up things that are like a 10 out of 10 amazing online, I am influencing, the market because of how good my stuff is. At the end of the day, there is something that's a little bit outside of your control, which is this algorithm. The other downside of an online media business is that you need numbers for it to be a viable business model. Over the past year, 2023, I gained about 750,000 views across my YouTube channel. And that averaged out to about $300 a month from ad revenue played over my videos. Now, an extra $300 a month is pretty freaking sweet, don't get me wrong. Especially considering that I stopped posting videos a few years ago and 99% of the views are just coming from the library. But unfortunately, I can't live on $300 a month. And if I didn't know any better, I'd say this YouTube thing has been screaming for years in my face that, hey, there's some opportunity here. What are you doing? And maybe it's right. If you've ever made a video, you'll know that it's much more time consuming than the experience of watching that video. Generally, to make one decently well edited video is like a 10-hour process minimum. A lot of people spend a lot more time making their video than that. There's scripting, there's filming, there's getting B-roll shots, there's editing, there's getting clips from the internet, screenshots, and slapping it all together. And then if you want to cut it into shorts, that takes another couple of hours. You need to export it, upload it, come up with a title, a thumbnail, a description, get links, get references, get everything together. And once you do that, you have one video and it might suck. So that's your investment right there, right? It takes time. Videos are not an easy project, and every single one of them is a little bit of a project. The creator business model almost always has multiple components for generating revenue, which again makes it a good kind of sound business, but it also requires a component of sales, whether that's building a product and selling something you think your audience may want, creating a course for people to take, or doing a brand deal and selling someone else's product in your videos. Building an online brand requires a little more than just ad revenue to be sustainable. But the great thing is that if there's demand for your content, those other things can often fall into place. Obviously, you still have to put the work in, but it can be made easier by having the audience. Some other positives is that your reach is global. You can have a lot of creative control, and once you make a video once, it continues to get views forever, hypothetically. So, where do we go from here? Hopefully, amongst all the rambling, I was able to put across the idea that if you want to make money, you have to make something that other people, also known as the market, wants. Once you've made a bit of money, I would highly recommend throwing some of it into stocks and passive investments as a wealth preservation tool. But if you don't have any grandiose plans, then yes, please save and invest for your future. If you're doing something because you love it or you want to work for yourself, you're probably doing it wrong and you probably just bought yourself another job. You work for your customer, not yourself. You work for your audience, not yourself. Once you meet other people's needs, then and only then will they help you meet yours. The world is a selfish place. People are selfish. They're thinking about themselves all the time. So you have to work selfishly hard to build something that other people want or need and become great at that thing. How do you know if other people want something? Throw it into the world. See what happens. Call up your friend. See if they'll give you a $20 deposit for this service idea that you have. Then get feedback from them and iterate. Do it again. Call 20 people or small businesses in your market and ask them what they struggle with. Solve their problem. Sell it to them. Look at your YouTube comments. Find a common thread among people's requests and complaints. Make a video about it. There are so many ideas out there. Lots of them are free, and a lot of the time people are telling you exactly what you need to do. You just might not be hearing it. It's not what can you do or what skills do you have, but it is what can you do for me? And you need to give the people what they want. That's about it. Thank you for watching the video. This one was a bit of a longer one and a bit of a rambly one, but I hope I was able to put across some interesting ideas in this video, and I hope that you got something valuable out of it. And thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, like, subscribe, go to the YouTube channel, and let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.